I had a lot of things that I wanted to be, but once you have a kid, you know, like you gotta pay for diapers and bottles and formula and all this stuff.
You want a career, you want to make a life, but you have this little being that means the most to you. Going through postpartum, like I wouldn't want to take a shower because I'm like so worried if my baby's fed, I'm throwing my hair up, and I neglected myself completely.
I love sacrificing for somebody, you know, having something to sacrifice for.
I want to give my child the experiences I never got to have.
When I got pregnant, I was going into my junior year, so I only had freshman and sophomore year. That was my 2 years of high school. And looking back, you know, when I was pregnant with her, I was like, oh, I'm missing out on all these things that my friends are getting to do. They get to go to prom and go to football games and be with their friends and laugh and go to sleepovers and shop with their friends, go to the beach whenever they want to. I think that's very important in your childhood. I think anything is important in your childhood. So if you miss that piece, it's like there's a missing spot in, you know, in your heart.
Growing up, like, I feel like a lot of like moms and dads like don't get the childhood that they wanted, so they want their kids to have the best childhood, you know, like go all out for them, have big birthday parties, prom shopping, a limo, like literally everything, you know.
I think it's like really important for me personally to give them like a stable household. So I grew up and I have a single mom, and then my dad, like my parents aren't together and they didn't have a good relationship at all. So it made me the middleman. And like before, I always say I became a parent before I became an actual parent, because my brother, I had to step in as a parental figure, have to watch him all the time. And me having such a big age gap, I just pray and I try to be the best woman I can become for God to bless me with my husband, because I never want my child to grow up thinking that they're the problem on why their parents aren't together, because I mean, like, all of y'all have y'all people and everything. I'm not with them, and our relationship it's not perfect and it's definitely very rocky. So me personally, it's like growing up knowing that you're loved by both parents. It's not your fault. Just having open communication about, like, you know, we had you when you were young, but it doesn't mean you're less loved and that you don't have purpose here.
Beginning of my childhood was extremely hard. I grew up homeless. My mother was an alcoholic, so and a drug addict. More so an alcoholic. We'd be walking down the streets, you know, homeless, and she'd be drinking a handle a day of vodka. My biological mom made it seem like she loved me and stuff, but at the same time, she was doing things to hurt me. I grew up homeless, and I didn't have a dad, so I was just living with my mom on the streets. Every single day, we'd be walking down the street. She'd be chugging a handle of vodka. You know, I have memories probably as early as one of her just downing them, you know. Also the fact that I got into it one time, and I thought it was my Pepsi, had a blue lid, chugged some alcohol, and I was probably only 2. That is like one of 1,000 dangers of a child growing up in that situation. You know, I don't want that for my kids. Not just the homelessness, the drugs, the no stable living. I don't want them to have the lack of love that comes with all of that. You know, a lot of times people don't set examples for you. They set examples of what not to do. I know addiction is in my genes, and I know what addiction does to a family. That gives me more advice to parent than any parenting advice out there, because I know how that affected me. You know, and I'm lucky to have had a good childhood from 5 and on. I got adopted into a very loving family, and they also showed me what love truly means, to be loved. You know, it wasn't just words, it was actions. My adoption was finalized, and we got home that night, and they gave me a teddy bear. And I just started crying at first because I was like, being a greedy little kid, and I was like, that's it? I saw it as like, they're just giving me a teddy bear. I don't want a teddy bear. And later that night, it just hit me. I'm like, this is what love is. Nobody's just giving me a teddy bear, you know? That's the memory I have of the first time I felt, you know, love from my adoptive parents.
Honestly, I'm so proud of you because that's something they don't talk about is generational curse breakage. My mom chose terrible men. Like, she's been married twice and she's done the best because she was doing it off of survival. She was coping with her own childhood trauma through raising me, and it got put on me. And I feel like our generation and a lot of teen parents were brought up from a lot of like bad things that we need to break, and nobody talks about how hard it is to raise your child and still go through the trauma, because a lot of the trauma we don't even realize it's trauma until we hit this age and realize that, like, okay, I shouldn't have been 13 watching somebody get beat up. I shouldn't have been around this type of setting. And making sure your child is raised in a loving home that isn't that is super duper hard. Like, it creates a lot of anxiety because you think that, oh, if I do this and if I move this way, they're gonna feel that way, when in reality, we parent so much different than our parents. We're not our parent. My mom tried a lot to make it work with my brother's father, and I saw the hurt. She would try over and over with these men who constantly deteriorated her worth, who just weren't good, they weren't providers. And so me breaking that generational curse of leaving my child's father means everything to me, because it took a lot of strength for me to leave. Because I will say it took me about, I guess you could say, 1.5 to 2 years. We dated for 4 years, and going through endless cycles of cheating, of lying, of constant hurt. That's a whole different type of pain, going through pregnancy and postpartum. And we were just surviving. So breaking that generational curse of just genuinely leaving and knowing that I have worth, and finding that into whenever a man does come into my life that sees that, is one of my biggest strongholds of what I'm breaking.
What if the story you're telling yourself isn't the whole story? We're all moving through life boxed inside an invisible personal reality filter. A perception box. Your perception box shapes how you see the world and how you judge yourself and others, often without you even realizing it. So if something in this episode makes you a little uncomfortable, ask yourself, what am I reacting to? What story am I believing? And what might I be missing? Now let's get back to the video. Now that I have my own child, I understand my parents better.
I do not understand my biological parents. I don't understand how you can have this beautiful creation in your hands and decide to, you know, ruin its life, essentially. Having my kids, it's like, I would never put them in that situation. I love them with 100% of my heart. And it's like, I can't comprehend that.
Can you understand where your adoptive parents are coming from?
Throughout childhood, even though sometimes I was bad, I always understood them. But now, more than ever, I understand where they were coming from. And they were always coming from a place of love and to better me, you know? So when I got grounded for being home late, they were setting an example that I should not show up late, and I should always commit to what I say I'm gonna do. All the different punishments, you know, they were very reasonable, and I understand it now more than ever because I want the exact same things that they wanted for me for my children.
Well, I live with my sister. My mom passed away when I was 11, and I've lived with my sister since then. And she always tells me, she told me a couple days ago too, she tells me I do it out of love. You know, she wants me to have a good life, and she doesn't want me to do anything dumb. And I don't want that for my daughter. So definitely I will probably be saying is I'm doing it out of love. After my mom passed away, I was really sad. I would say depressed as a young kid. In the beginning of my relationship with my sister, it was more of like I just seen her as my sister. It was really hard to understand her perspective and like how she would try to parent me because I really just seen her as my sister. I never really seen her as a parent figure yet. So our relationship was really rocky, but therapy helped me a lot like as time went by. But definitely our relationship now is a lot different. I do see her as a mother figure to me. So when she asked me to do things or ask me like my whereabouts, like, hey, where are you going? Are you're gonna go so-and-so, make sure you're okay. I just wanna make sure make sure nothing bad happens to me. So I definitely see her perspective on making sure I'm gonna be okay.
My mom was single for the longest time. She has done everything. When I was a kid, I asked her, hey, mommy, why don't you have any new clothes? She would wear the same wardrobe 5 days a week, you know, and switch out and wash them. She's like, honey, because I sacrificed everything for you. So I had clothes, I had toys, I had food, I had stuff. I had $20 to go to the mall. And I think I can understand my mom for that, because she did everything for me. And my dad, he's a little stricter, but I know deep down in his heart that he loves me just as much. I can understand my parents so much. I went over here to agree, but I can strongly agree because I don't think what they're doing is wrong as parents. And regardless of them being divorced and me feeling, you know, as if they don't love me sometimes because of their decisions, I think deep down inside what they're doing is because they want the best for me.
I can agree with you on the like the mom aspect, because my mom was a single mom, and I could definitely see what she did for me was out of love. And a lot of the times I would be like, well, as a young person, I'm like seeing these men treat her wrong, and I feel like that kind of depicted what I chose when I got older because I thought that was love. But me being the person I am now and going through what I went through with my child's father, like I would kind of chase him a lot, and like my child's father, he would cheat on me a lot through my entire pregnancy, through everything. And the reason he would like kind of go away and then come back, I thought that was love from what I saw. But in reality, as I'm a parent now, the reason I was going back was for my child. And I can understand my mom and why she would choose these men, because I mean, they would say they would provide for both of us. And being a single mom is really hard. My dad was on child support, but that's all he would do. And he would just, and I mean, all the money that he gets, the $800 a month, goes to the bills. So my mom has to pay, she would pay for everything. Like everything that I ever wanted, I got, because my mom is the strongest woman in the world. And that's where I feel like I get a lot of my strength from. Now that I'm a mother, I want to just give my son everything. And I really agree with how she did it, because it's all survival and it's all love. We just want our kids to grow up feeling loved.
I've neglected my own needs to be a good parent.
Learning to be a mom at a young age is so hard, and especially going through high school still at that age and learning how to, like, you want a career, you want to make a life, but you have this little being that means the most to you. I like going through postpartum, like I wouldn't want to take a shower because I'm like so worried if my baby's fed. I'm throwing my hair up. My hair is always matted. I'm always in a bun. Dishes aren't done. I'm not doing self-care at all. So I strongly agree that I neglected myself completely.
I think it's easy to relate to, like, as parents, because once you have a kid, you don't realize how much attention and, like, you know, nurturing they need. I mean, once you have this kid, it's like you don't want to worry about yourself because you want to make sure they're fed, they're changed, they're happy, they're comfortable. And I think, it's, you know, especially being so young too, it's hard changing from, oh, it's all about myself, you know, I'm doing my makeup, I'm taking hours in the shower, and now you have this little human that's crying. It's like, mommy, I need help, daddy, I need help. So I think we agree as a whole, because it is just so, it's hard, it's really hard.
I actually strongly agree, so I'm gonna move. So Kaden is my fiance, so I don't actually have the experience of being postpartum. However, I did experience it and see it through her. There are a lot of things that you do have to sacrifice being a teen parent and a parent in general. It's hard, you know, you put a lot of your hygienes and everything else like that behind you just to take care of your baby, you know?
One thing that not a lot of people talk about is you have to sacrifice your dreams. So In high school, I started an exoskeleton company, and I had a scholarship, and I had to put those aside when I had my kid. That was my choice. I mean, I didn't necessarily have to, but I put full focus on my family and started working 70, 80 hours a week. So the dad side of things versus the mom side of things, it's kind of a different sacrifice of needs, you know.
Definitely, yeah.
You know, like everybody needs friend time, social time, time to, you know, take a shower and all that. And you kind of just got to give up on that, especially the first few months of the baby's life.
I had a lot of things that I wanted to be, but once you have a kid, you know, like you got to pay for diapers and bottles and formula and all this stuff that, you know, you have to put first because you have a baby now. So it's very difficult. I wanted to become an airline pilot. That was one of the big things that I wanted to do. You know, growing up, my uncle, my father, and my brother were all so passionate about being airline pilots. And that's something I had to kind of just curb to the left whenever I had our baby. It stinks having to, you know, sacrifice things, but when you know what it's for, the worth that you feel from that is extraordinary.
I was a junior in high school and I got pregnant, and I was a varsity cheerleader, and I wanted to go to Oregon for school to be a physical therapist. Like, I never wanted to stay in Texas my whole life, and when I had my son, I had to like change everything, and I was already in college classes in high school and on track to like graduate and everything, and I did graduate early, but now I like went to lash school, I went to esthetician school, and it's really hard to find the balance because like whenever you're a parent and a young parent, you don't want to disappoint the people who doubted you, so you get a hustle mentality, and that hustle mentality really isn't something that is healthy because you will work your butt off until you are in drought and until you just feel like you don't even know who you are. You feel like you just have to work.
For me, I was struggling with nihilism and didn't see a purpose in life. And then I have a kid and it's like my whole world changes, and it's like those sacrifices, I love them. I love sacrificing for somebody, you know, having something to sacrifice for. You know?
I've lost friends who couldn't relate to my new life priorities.
I strongly agree that I lost a bunch of my friends due to me becoming a parent at 14, and they couldn't relate to me. It was really sad. Like, I was really good friends with them, and they just randomly stopped talking to me, or they blocked me, and they just removed me off social medias, or I think it took a really big toll on my like mental health. I've been in therapy for about like 4 years now, and I talked to my sister about it. Like, I talk about my feelings to my family, and that definitely helped me throughout like me not having any more friends, because it was just me and my daughter and my boyfriend. Like, it was just us three. It's always been us three.
I had so many friends before we got pregnant, and all of a sudden you just don't have the same amount of relationships as you used to. You know, you don't have people reaching out to you, you know, asking how you're doing, asking how your day was, you know, like friends do. They talk.
I've always kept my friends really tight, and I'm very fortunate because one of my best friends is also a teen dad. He has 2 littles as well, and our 2 oldest are around the same age, so they get to hang out. There's certain people that we were friends with we didn't want our kids to be around, so we cut them off, essentially.
It's a big difference between being in high school and out of high school, because I got pregnant my junior year, and then around second semester is when I went to online school. So I'm 17, I graduated, and then I went to esthetician school and I went to lash school, and that type of lifestyle is so much different, and they think you're so busy all the time, and they'll be like, hey, do you want to go party? And I'm like, my morals have changed, and when your morals change completely, I don't want my kid to be around drinking or smoking, and I'm a person that reads into people, and I'm not gonna put myself or my child around somebody who just wants to be around me for my kid. Yeah. And a lot of young people are just like, I wanna hang around you because I wanna see the baby, and then it kind of puts you in an isolation season of like, well, I'm a person too, and I was your friend first. So everybody around you forgets who you are as a person because you have a kid, and they think it's like a lavish lifestyle, and they think that having a kid young is like so cute because you get cute pictures and stuff like that, but they lose sight of who you are, and you're already losing sight of who you are in itself, so it's really hard to relate to other people.
I love my child, but I'm still learning to love myself.
I love myself. I know my worth, just based on my faith alone. You know, that's all I need to know, that I am me. I'm loved. You know, I'm worth something. I don't need to learn. I'm not still learning to love myself. I love myself just based on what I know and who loved me first. You know, God loved me first. God loves me. God died for me. That is why I'm not still searching on how to love myself. I do love myself.
It's harder for us moms, because the moms are over here, the dads are over there. I think we're the ones that went through the whole 9 months of pregnancy. We're the ones that are going through postpartum until the day we die. And I think it's harder to love ourselves because it's like we're not the same as we used to be before this pregnancy, you know? And I think mentally we're different from where we were. At first, my body's still changing. My body's still, you know, going through those hormones of, you know, I'm having bits of hair loss because of postpartum hair loss, and my body's not the same. I used to be like Flat Stanley. Like seriously, I used to be just, and now I'm just like, oh, I have this, you know, and everything is beautiful. Every part of our human bodies that give to our babies is beautiful, but I think physically, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I'm not the same, you know, and I'm still learning to love this new body that my baby gave me, but it's still hard. Like I have stretch marks, you know, on my stomach, and you know, on my hips and stuff, and I think it's hard because, you know, we're different now. You guys are the same. You know, you were the same when we got pregnant. You're the same now, you know, and I think it's physically, it's harder to love myself. Maybe not mentally because you know, I'm confident in everything I know, but physically it's harder to love myself. My mentality has changed after having a baby, and in a good way, not in a bad way, in a really positive way, honestly. I feel like I'm so focused on my baby that it's like, I don't care what other people think. It's me and my baby against the world.
I went through a lot of trauma postpartum, and that trauma veered onto my worth and my relationships that I've had throughout my child's life, and learning mentally that like I need to love myself to love my son is something that is like, it's just an ongoing love and something that God is showing me provision on and how to love myself properly, because like you have to relearn who you are as a mother and as a regular person. And that leads into like friends and stuff. You start falling into different friend groups and stuff because your morals change. Everything about you changes as a person, and you have to relearn it.
I love myself because I look at myself as a dad who's trying his best, and I'm putting all the love that I can towards my fiance and my children, and I'm very proud of myself for that.
I'm learning to love myself as time goes by, but I love my daughter, and like I want my daughter to feel so much love. So then like there's that portion of me that's like, okay, you can wait. Like I'll love myself a little later. Like it's all on her. I feel like my daughter gave me purpose in life because I felt like I didn't have that purpose before. Before it was just myself, and I never had a child. And she really healed that inner child in me, that piece that was broken in my heart of having a really rough childhood, and she really saved me for it.
Hit the link below for perception box questions that invite you to zoom out, soften up, and see things a little bit differently.